first start in Australia, to be ridden by leading New Zealand apprentice Vince Colgan. Number 8 also from New Zealand, Mr. Morricone, ridden by Larry Cassidy. Number 9 is Dane Wynn, favourite for the race, trained by Bobby Thompson, ridden for the first time the other day at Caulfield by champion Victorian rider Damien Oliver. Stony Bay Waterhouse, who's had success already here today, to be ridden by a Cox Plate champion jockey, Len McDidman. Number 11 is Just Apollo, an interesting mare, trained by a lady and ridden by a 24-year-old lady in Rosie Eildon. Make Rosie welcome here in Australia. Number 12 is... Number 12 is Danarani, ridden by Patrick Payne, one of our leading riders here in Australia. Patrick Payne, the rider of Danarani. Number 13, this is the fittest man in the world. This is Brian York. He's lost 5 kilos to ride this mighty 3-year-old Al Mace-Gay. There he is, hitch up your pants, Brian. That's the boy. And number 14, a great favourite here at Moonee Valley. You all love him. This is Shane Dark, the rider of... Ladies and gentlemen, these are the 14 champion riders for this year's BMW Cox Plate. Wish them a safe ride, wish them all the best. May the best horse and jockey win. The riders in the 1995 BMW Cox Plate.
I think it's one of the great things they do here at Moonee Valley, and I'm sure most viewers would agree. It gives the patrons a chance to see the jockeys. They love Shane Dye, don't they? And I think the biggest smile, Gary Willits, belonged to Rosie Eildon, the rider of Just Apollo.
Oh, well, what a great, it's a great thrill even to ride in one of these races, and like if it did happen to win, well, she'd be over the moon.
Well, there she is in centre screen.
Yep.
Well, the horses are moving round. The jockeys will now walk over and have a quiet chat with the owners. I think they'd all have their instructions by now, though, Gary.
Oh, certainly. And there's number 2, Jern, just walking into the mounting yard there. You wouldn't get a better-looking horse anywhere than him, Ken.
Magnificent stallion, lovely chestnut horse, and they tell me there's been plenty of money for Jern where it matters, out in the betting ring.
Yes. There's Solvit there, number 1. Defending champion. Interesting, he's had 3 runs at the Valley, a win in the Cox Plate, a second, and won the Waterford Crystal Mile.
That's right, he won the Waterford Crystal Mile the first year, then he ran second to the Phantom Chance in 1993. 1994, he beat another Kiwi Rough Habit, and now, as you say, 1995, he's out to defend his title, and he's at huge odds of 25 to 1 to do it.
Yeah, well...
Following along by Jern racing there in the pacifiers. Blinkers without the actual hood, just mesh over the eyes, and as Gary said, you have a look at him if you want to see a fine specimen, a great animal. Number 2, Jern.
Oh yeah, look, I watched him work here Tuesday morning, Ken, and he just glided over the ground, and I think if he puts it all together, there's no doubt he's a great racehorse.
There's number 3, Mahogany. Greg Hall, the rider, had an unusual preparation, has only had 1 run this time in, trained really in the English style, Gary.
Yeah, but look, I think Kenny's had those 2 runs between races at 2 places, and certainly the one at
Two
gallops, sorry. Certainly the gallop at Caulfield, he actually ran faster time in his gallop than what they ran the Kunji handicap in.
There's number 4, Seascape, trained by Peter Hayes, a stablemate of Jern, and as you heard earlier, David Taggart is the rider on Seascape. I think it'll be just a little bit rich for him. He's followed along by another Hayes runner, number 5, Station Hand, only a roughie too, Gary.
Yes, he looked a little bit unlucky in the Kunji handicap, but I'm a bit with you, Ken. I think he'd have his work cut out to beat this lot.
Number 6, Star Dancer, racing in blinkers, blue and white blinkers. Star Dancer just might struggle at the 2,000 metres, to be ridden by his usual jockey Grant Cooksley, trained by Bruce Wallace at Takanini in New Zealand, and Bruce has a lot of success when he brings horses to Australia. Number 7, Pakaraka Star, the chestnut. There he is. Pakaraka Star is one of the roughies of the race, showing at $48 on the tote.
Yes, I was back in New Zealand when I watched him win on the TV at New Plymouth. We beat a pretty good field that day, and it was very wet, so whether he just wants the track a bit wetter, Ken, I'm not sure.
Here's another Kiwi, number 8, Mr. Marconi. Bit of a tip, Gary. He's got a great winning record. He's had 12 starts for 8 wins.
Well, here's one horse that did work very well here on Tuesday morning. He could have nearly been the best worker of the morning.
by McGinty, another great Kiwi. There's number 9, Dane Wynn, favourite in the betting ring. Damien Oliver, the jockey. Great horse. He looks well, looks a treat. One alley, he'll get the run of the race.
He certainly will, and as long as, he's just going to have to work off the fence, around about, just inside the 800. He's got to get that clear run at them, because you don't want those leaders stopping on you.
There's number 10, Stony Bay, Gay Waterhouse's Hope, the jockey, Mick Dittman.
Yes, well, he's caused a couple of boilovers, hasn't he, Ken, up in Sydney in those big weight for age races?
He's beaten Jearn twice at 2 meetings, both on flint hard tracks, and today there's just a little bit of give in the ground. Just Apollo went out of screen there, the Chestnut TOB number 11. Sorry, she's the Bay. I'm looking at the wrong horse there. It's the Bay number 11 is Just Apollo. Denarani, a very, very good horse. That's Just Apollo, trained in New Zealand. Another roughie, the lady riding her, Rosie Eildon, and number 12, Denarani there. Denarani also in blinkers, trained by Bart Cummings, ridden by Patrick Payne. Bit of a quiet tip, Gary. Yes,
should have won the Turok handicap. Had no luck at all in the straight, and looked very unlucky. But I don't know. Well, Bart certainly can produce the magic on the big days. But
she might surprise you. She's a very, very good mare, Denarani. Yep. Our Mace K is the next one we'll see there in the red and green colours for all your South Sydney supporters. He looks nice and relaxed, our Mace K, and behind him in the cerise colours is the other 3-year-old Octagonal. I think that they've both got great chances. I just think the pressure at 2,000 metres might bring our Mace K undone, but what a great horse he is.
Oh, well, his record, 13 out of 17 wins. That's an incredible record. This horse here, Octagonal, we see just going around there, number 14. He was a very good run in the slipper, then he won the Sires. Very good racehorse.
He sure is, and his jockey is Shane Dye, and they might have given Shane a little bit of a yahoo when he came out to be introduced, but he's won plenty of Group 1 races. He knows what it takes to win the big ones. He produces, he puts up when he has to, and he'll make sure that Octagonal has his chance. I imagine Shane will ride him in the second half of the field, and Gary, round about the old school there at, what's that, about 800 metres out, he'll be starting to move.
Just inside that 800, that's when you've got to start making that bit of a move that you can get a clear crack at them, because it doesn't seem to matter here, Ken, if you do sit out 3 and 4 wide at that stage. You've only got one corner to go round at that stage of the race.
There's plenty of celebrities in the crowd. There's Bob Hawke and his wife, Blanche Del Puget, the author. Bob and Blanche are here representing the owner of Dane Wynn, Sonny Yam, and I think they might be the people to make the, I think Bob might be the man to make the acceptance speech, and he and Blanche may lead Dane Wynn back if he is successful in the BMW Cox Plate.
Look at that great crowd there now, Ken. It's built up all around that, watching the horses in the parade ring there. And in front of us here, it's just incredible, the amount of people that fitted in at the Valley.
Well, I've used it twice before, but it is great theatre here at Moonee Valley. A great occasion. The atmosphere is electric, to use another popular cliche. And the horses now are waiting for the fanfare as they come down through the race with a crowd to greet them. And Jock Gologly is leading the way on the grey.
Ken, it's quite incredible when you walk out of that race and you face this big crowd and you walk down here onto the track. It's an incredible buzz. The old adrenaline's really throwing. You could run through a brick wall.
Yes, and there's the crowd watching as the horses come down. We might quite just pick up the PA here if we can.
Number 2 is Jearn, the imported stallion. Ridden by Wayne Harris, going to make it the big 3, trained by Peter Hayes. Number 3, the mystery horse, Mahogany. Greg Hall for Lee Friedman. Number 4, Seascape, David Taggart for Peter Hayes. Number 5, Station Hand, the jockey of the moment, Darren Gauci for Peter Hayes. Number 6, Star Dancer from New Zealand, Grant Cooksley. Number 7, also from New Zealand, Pakaraka Star, Vince Colgan. Number 8, Mr. Marconi from New Zealand, Larry Cassidy. Number 9, the favourite, the horse of the moment, trained by Bobby Thompson in Sydney, ridden by Damien Oliver. This is Dane Wynn. Number 10, the Gay Waterhouse trained Stony Bay, ridden by previous Cox Plate winning jockey Mick Dittman. Number 11, Just Apollo, Rosie Eildon for SC Rainford in New Zealand. Number 12 is Dunarani, Patrick Payne for Bart Cummings. Number 13, the 3-year-old champion of Australia and New Zealand, Brian York for Grant Searle. And the other 3-year-old in the field, the top quality horse trained by John Hawkes, Octagonal, ridden by Melbourne's favourite rider, Shane Dye.
Well, there they are. What more can we say?
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the field for the 1995
for the big one,
BMW.
the BMW Cox Plate. Well, special occasions are often marked by the great atmosphere that comes with them, and the crowd helps to make that great atmosphere, and there's certainly a jam-packed full house here at Moonee Valley today for the Cox Plate. Look at them packed tight as there's only a minute or two to go before the horses will commence the running of the 1995 BMW Cox Plate. Dane Wynn is now favoured on the tote and also in the betting ring. Solvit at 25, 9-2 Jeune, Mahogany out to the same price. Seascape 40-1, 30 Station Hand, 66 Star Dancer, 50 Pakaraka Star, 15 Mr Marconi, 3.5-1 or $4.50 Dane Wynn, 20 Stony Bay, 60 Just Apollo, 20 Denarani, 4 Our Maze K, 8-1 Octagonal, and the reserve Nick's Joy wasn't required. Well, they're behind the barrier, they're getting ready to go in. Our man's there on the Clerk of the Course's horse, Jock Gologly. How do they all look, Jock?
Oh, colossal, Ken, as you would expect, and very deep concentration up here, 14 jockeys, and look, the horse that gets me is number 2, Jeune. He's really focused on his assignment here this afternoon. His veins are pumping. He looks magnificent, this horse, as does Dane Wynn, a real athlete. You can't take anything away from his looks, and the great 3-year-old Our Maze K. So placid and relaxed here, and Brian York, well, what an effort it'll be if he can win it, mate. Looks like he's got a paddle pop stick under his backside. The saddle's that small. But I'm going Jeune, Dane Wynn, and Our Maze K.
I thought Our Maze K looked beautifully relaxed. Octagonal was just on the toe a touch.
Yeah, he's starting to sweat a bit behind the flanks and the rear end there, Ken. But just walking past me now, Our Maze K, he's just gone to sleep.
Okay, Jock, thanks very much. Gary Willits, one quick word.
Well, I'll stick with Jeune. I can't fault him.
Jeune looks a treat. So does Dane Wynn, so does Our Maze K, and the man to call the big one is John Tapp.
Okay, Ken, only 4 or 5 to move in for the BMW Cox Plate for 1995 before a capacity crowd at Moonee Valley. A chilly breeze blowing, keeping the temperature down around the 17 or 18 mark, but all in all, you couldn't have wished for a more pleasant spring day in Melbourne. Now, Dane Wynn has the number 1 gate. Horses on the fence or close to the fence haven't been dominating today, and I reckon that'll be in the back of Damien Oliver's mind. Certainly from about the 1,000-metre mark on, I think he'll be anxious to get away from the rail. Pakaraka Star in barrier 2. Our Maze K now goes up into gate 15, and they're off in the Cox Plate, and Our Maze K has fired out from the extreme outside barrier. He's going to charge straight across the face of the field. He'll find the fence at the end of 100 metres, and Our Maze K leads them as they come down to the judge the first time. Now York looks for a pacemaker, and it's Dittman on Stony Bay going up to the girth of the leader. Our Maze K might get left in front here for a while yet. Solvit is taking his time getting around the outside into 3rd place. Dane Wynn settles down 4th on the fence, followed by Mahogany in a good spot, and then Station Hand on the rails, Pakaraka Star, Danarani on the inside of Mr Marconi, followed by Seascape. Octagonal between horses, wants to pull a bit in the early stages. Out deep is Just Apollo, Jeune second last, and Star Dancer back at the tail of the field. They're pretty tightly packed as they head into the back straight, 1,100 metres out, and Our Maze K is the leader. It's Our Maze K, a bit more than a length to Stony Bay, a neck away Dane Wynn getting a cushy run. He might have a job getting off the fence from there, followed by Solvit, and then Mahogany further back, and 3 wide Just Apollo on the outside of Station Hand, a length and a half Pakaraka Star on the inside of Mr Marconi. Octagonal a fair way back with Seascape, followed by Danarani. Jeune is second last, and a head back last on the inside is Star Dancer as they go to the 800 mark. It's Our Maze K in front, about 3/4 to Stony Bay. Solvit's been 3 deep most of the way. Out very wide Just Apollo, his Station Hand making a rush forward, followed closely by Mahogany, held up momentarily Dane Wynn on the fence with nowhere to go. And then Mr. Marconi, Octagonal starting to move. He'll have to go very deep. Jeune wide out on the track in the blue and white colours. Seascape with nowhere to go, followed by Danarani, Pakaraka Star and Star Dancer. Look at them pack up as they come to the turn. Dane Wynn got knocked right out of the race. He's back near last on the corner. Station Hand takes the lead. Here's one of the three-year-olds, Octagonal. Mahogany on the fence as they turn for home. Straightening up Octagonal. Jeune's the one to have the last shot at him. Octagonal is just the leader. Mahogany coming again on the inside. Octagonal and Mahogany. Octagonal, Mahogany are coming to the line, locked together. It's a fantastic finish. Octagonal wins the Cox Plate about a half neck to Mahogany, who was gallant in defeat. Station Hand looks to have run third in front of Jeune. Just Apollo ran a big race at long odds from Mr. Marconi, Pakaraka Star. Seascape next. Dane Wynn, a hard luck story from Danarani. And then Stony Bay, Star Dancer and Solvit. Last year's winner is second last, and the long last is Al Mays K, who simply failed to run 2,040 metres. He's no stayer. And Octagonal, I thought Mahogany was going to come again and beat him, but Octagonal with a massive pull in the weights, 59 kilos to 48.5, desperately ridden by Shane Dye, who rides his first Cox Plate winner. It's the one big race to have eluded him in Australia, and he fluked the ride. Darren Gauci could not make the weight, so how do you think he's feeling? There is Darren there right in front of Shane in the blue and white hoops. That is the luckiest big race ride we've seen in years, Ken.
John, you can't take anything away from him, though. It was a marvellous ride. They looked like pushing him deep. He went back inside, bided his time. There's not too many jockeys would have won on the horse. He might have been lucky to get the ride, but there was nothing lucky about the mastery that Shane Dye showed in a marvellous performance to win the Cox Plate of 1995. And what a great training performance by Lee Freedman. Let's stop them there. There's Mahogany over on the rails. He's just getting to the lead. Now here's the winner, Octagonal. He goes up to join him. Jeune can't do any better, and it's left to Station Hand in the middle to box on and run third. And Mace K at this stage, he's gone. He's back here. He couldn't run the distance. Stony Bade had enough. And there's Dane Wynn knocked out of the race, coming around the home turn, or coming to the home turn. But keep your eyes here as we roll it on Octagonal. He goes up to join the leader now, Mahogany. Station Hand between them can't come on, and neither can Jeune out here. Jeune tried to trail Octagonal up. He wasn't good enough. Octagonal, Mahogany fights back. Mahogany was going to hold him for Greg Hall, but Shane Dye said, no, I'm not going to be denied. And at 48.5, the three-year-old, who's now won $1.9 million, gave the Chicken Kings, Jack and Bob Ingham, their first Cox Plate. Jock Gologly, over to you.
Here, Shane, your first Cox Plate, mate.
My dreams are complete. When I come here, I had 3 ambitions to win a Melbourne Cup, a Golden Slipper and a Cox Plate. And today I fulfilled my dream and I can finish riding, and I've done everything I ever wanted to do.
Mate, you nearly got me and Tears. A month ago, Dane Wynn, you're going to ride him, and a week ago, you're going to ride Stony Bay.
Well, you say that, and that's correct, but this is the horse I always wanted to be on. I've been after him for the last 2 months to get on him, and luckily I'm on him.
Did your pre-race plan work out perfectly for you, or any changes through the run?
I was just going to sit back. I didn't care whether I was 3 wide or 1 off the pace, and come into the race at the 600. It was an easy ride. It wasn't a great ride. It was just a ride, and he won.
You'd like to be on him in the Derby, I suppose?
No, I want to be on nothing like a Dane.
All righto. OK, Shane, go and save for the moment, mate. Well done.
Well, Shane Dye, very, very modest in victory. He's been called a little bit cocky in the past. There was certainly nothing cocky there, but he was entitled, in my opinion, to be a little bit cocky, Gary. It was a great ride.
Oh, tremendous ride. And look, I was watching him ride the horse out in the finish, and what beautiful balance he's got. Actually, the two of them, Shane Dye and Greg Hall, you couldn't get 2 better riders riding the finish out. There's a great shot of him coming back there. He's elated now.
I watched him closely in the run. At about the 700 metres, Jeune started to make his run. Dye went out, pushed Jeune a little bit wider. Jeune couldn't sustain the effort that the 3-year-old did. And Octagonal, the Sydney 3-year-old, people were wondering whether he was overwrapped. I tipped him every start, but today, Gary, I only put him in a placing. I was wondering whether I was too carried away. But what a performance. John Hawkes, a great training effort. He said all along, there's one race I want to win. It's the Cox Plate, and here he is.
Yeah, terrific. And what a beautiful looking horse this horse is. I remember the first time I saw him was Golden Slipper Day, and I remarked then what a great looking horse he is, and by gee, certainly Well, he's gone on and proved it now.
Gary, that's Jack Ingham, one of the two brothers. Jack Ingham leading Octagonal back. That's his wife Sue in the hat beside him. And Jack Ingham, one of the Chicken Kings, and his wife Sue lead back the Cox Plate winner, Octagonal, with Billy Idol, as we call him up in Sydney, Shane Dye. And Shane, boy, you're entitled to give that V for victory sign. Look, I've been critical of Shane Dye in the past, but that was a marvellous ride when you consider he had to lose 3 kilos to get down to the 48.5. He must have been feeling a little bit weak halfway down the straight, but Gary, you wouldn't have known it watching him.
Oh, no. Well, as I said, you know, you could show that to any of the apprentices and just say, well, look, that's how you ride a horse out at the finish of a big race. He never missed a beat. Perfect balance, and that's what gets them to the line for those short margins.
Well, what a day the Chicken Kings are having. They won with favour and Donar early in the day here, and they also won the Sydney, up in Sydney, they won the Silver Slipper Stakes. So the Silver Slipper and the Cox Plate on the one day, you can't better that. As Shane Dye weighs out, we'll take a commercial break on Cox Plate Day 1995. Well, there it is again. Mahogany on the rails, Station Hand in the white cap in the centre, and then along comes Octagonal. Jeune in the blue and white cap out deep, can't do any better. Let's concentrate on the first two. Mahogany kicks back, great training performance by the Freedman brothers, but it's Octagonal's day. Weight is right, and Octagonal has won the BMW Cox Plate. TAB number 14, $9.10 on the Victorian tab, and $2.90 the place. Number 3, Mahogany second, $2.20, and number 6, that's we've got the wrong third place getter in there. It was the Station Hand who run third. We'll correct that in a moment, but they were the placings. Station Hand third in the Cox Plate of this year. Okay, now we're right. Number 6, Station Hand, $6.50. It should be 5, Station Hand, 14, 3 and 5. Just a minor mistake. We'll have that corrected shortly. Let's go down for the presentation of the Cox Plate.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've just witnessed the running of one of the world's great races, the Weight for Age Championship of Australasia, the BMW Cox Plate of 1995. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the chairman of the Moonee Valley Racing Club, Mr. Norman Carline.
Premier, ministers, ladies and gentlemen, the BMW Cox Plate is the race where legends are made. Today we salute Octagonal as the newest Weight for Age champion of Australasia. The Moonee Valley Racing Club thanks BMW for their commitment to this great race. It is now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Hartman, Managing Director of BMW Australia.
Mr. Premier and Mrs. Kennett, ministers, Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds, Chairman Norman Carline and Mrs. Carline, special guests, ladies and gentlemen. The BMW Cox Plate is a very special race, a race that always promises so much and never lets us down. BMW Australia is indeed privileged to sponsor this great race, a race that is now surely ranked as one of the world's great races. BMW values the loyalty shown to our product by horse racing people. Racing, of course, is a wonderful fraternity, and at BMW we are pleased to have a role in this important industry that is so much a part of the Australian lifestyle. I congratulate Moonee Valley Chairman Norman Carline, his committee, and Chief Executive Paul Bartlett on the staging of today's event, and thank them very much for a real cooperation that BMW has received. To the winning horse, Octagonal, thank you for another special racing experience. To the owner, Jack and Bob Ingham, congratulations. You are the winners of the BMW Cox Plate 1995. To the trainer, John Hawke, we congratulate you on a wonderful achievement. And last but not least, to the jockey, Shane Dye, you have achieved a very great success today. I now would like to ask the Premier, Mr. Kennett, to present the BMW Cox Plate 1995 to the winning owners, represented by Jack Ingham.
Mr. Carline, members of the committee, ladies and gentlemen, can I firstly congratulate you, Mr. Carline, and the committee on turning out Moonee Valley in such a superb shape and form today. This is a magnificent course and the new track has clearly proved up today. Can I also thank Mr. Hartman and BMW for their very real sponsorship of racing here in Victoria. Today we see close, if not record crowds, with huge numbers of younger people attending, and racing here in Victoria is in very good shape and will continue, no doubt, to grow in the years to come. To Mr. Ingham and the connections of the Woodland Stable Syndicate, to you, Jack, congratulations very much indeed. You have been a very long supporter of racing around Australia and particularly in this state with your syndicate, and your race today, the stable's performance today with Octagonal, was just outstanding. It gives me much pleasure to congratulate you, trainer Johnny Hawkes, Shane Dye, for a magnificent combination. I ask you to come forward and accept the plate.
Chairman of the Moonee Valley, Norman Carlisle, the committee, the Premier, Jeff Kennett, distinguished guests, Mr. Hartman of BMW, ladies and gentlemen. Well, this is just one of the greatest thrills. How sweet it is to win a race like this. I think Octagonal showed today that he's going to be one of probably the best horses that Bob and I have had, and it makes it worthwhile when you get a horse like him. It's just a wonderful feeling, and you can't tell you how thrilled I am about it. I'd like to thank my trainer, John Hawkes, who's done a wonderful job with the horse. He's got a wonderful staff, and certainly they're starting to get results. I think we've had 5 winners today all over the place, which is absolutely wonderful. It's just a super day. I want to thank Shane Dye. Shane's been wanting to ride Octagonal for the last 4 weeks. And I know in Melbourne he's got his critics, but today he's the king. It was just a super ride. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank all of you. It's lovely to get the applause and hear the applause for a lovely, great race that this Cox Plate is. Thank you very, very much.
Mr. Kennett, we'd ask you to present the Trainer's Trophy to John Hawkes.
Mr. Premier, Mr. Carline, members of the Moonee Valley Racing Club, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It certainly is a super thrill today to win the Cox Plate. Not my wildest dreams to ever think I would be here one day winning this race. I'd like to thank Jack and Bob Ingham for giving me the opportunity to train their horses throughout Australia. They've sort of put a lot of time, a lot of faith into me and a lot of money into racing. I'd like to thank Shane Dye for an excellent ride. It's the first time he's been on the horse, and I thought he'd done a masterly job today. I'd also like to thank my staff who do a fantastic job. Brian Ralph in Melbourne, Peter Snowden in Sydney, Eric Woolston in Brisbane, Frank Ryan in Adelaide, and my 2 sons, Wayne and Michael, who do a fantastic job. And last of all, but not least, my wife Jenny, who has been a great support throughout my career. And I'd also like to thank Paul Wood, the strapper of Octagonal, who's done a fantastic job. He's come down from the Sydney, put a lot of time in the horse. He's looked after him since he was a baby. Thank you very, very much. Before on behalf, I'd like to thank BMW for being the sponsor of the race. They put a lot of money in racing, which is fantastic. Thank you very much.
Okay.